Ladies and gentlemen, pilots turn on the fasten seatbelts.
This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets.
Yeah. I just poured water baby by me, baby. Be a millionaire. I write the check before the baby comes.
All gas, no brakes.
I'ma die trying to spin this shit. Southside's up in this bitch.
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets.
When I roll 20 deep, it's always drama in the club. Now that I roll with Trey, everybody show me love. When you sell like Eminem, you get plenty of groupie love. Look, homie, ain't nothing changed. Close down, cheese up. I see exhibit in the cutting, man. Roll them trees up, trees up, up. Roll them trees up, roll them trees up. I see exhibit in the cutting, man. Roll them trees up, 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 up,
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here. You are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
I got the finest girls in France, such a feeling.
Faster. Yeah, we three things that we're focusing relentlessly with Zach since he's gotten back is his tempo, which is his footwork, his eyes, which is working through progression and progressing off of 1, 2, 3, and then obviously not overanalyzing what he's saying, which is easy to do when you're trying to see what the coverage is. You're trying to figure out your pre-snap indicators so you can progress faster. Especially with all the different disguises that teams have, like you can get yourself, especially as a young guy, you can get caught thinking one thing and getting yourself caught post-snap. But so just having discipline. So yesterday, we felt like his tempo was pretty good. From an eye placement standpoint, we felt like it wasn't as consistent as it was against Philadelphia in that first half, which led to him having to speed up, slow down, reset, and that always is going to lead to inaccuracy. And so those are things that we can help him with, just continuing to be relentless as it pertains to those three aspects of his football game. And you saw it yesterday too, because the counter argument is, well, shoot, does that sound like you're trying to build a robot? And it's no, because what I think you see as he gets more comfortable with the tempo of his drop and hitting his foot, having great footwork and being disciplined in his footwork, he'll start to feel a pocket around him, and he'll know exactly when to exit. He'll know exit lanes. He'll know how to do all that stuff. And he showed some of that yesterday with his scrambles. So to answer your question on accuracy, though, yesterday in Houston, you could point it to his footwork.
Well, you heard it from Coach Saleh right there, and I really, really love the way he broke that down. I think it's important as a head coach to be able to, especially in New York with the media, it's important to be able to explain exactly what's happening to the fans and to the media. And obviously the fans and the media have jumped all over the New York Jets in their first year rebuild. But I give credit to Saleh for explaining things like that because it makes total sense. I mean, that, and listen, he told you the ups and downs of what's going to happen with a rebuild, with a rookie team. And, people don't want to factor that into the evaluation of Zach Wilson and this team. But it's true. I mean, when you look in the last game, I think they've done a good job with Zach since he's gotten back with his tempo. You see him get rid of the ball faster. You see him go down to his underneath a lot more, going through the reads faster and getting it off. And I like that. I mean, you saw that in the Philadelphia game. He was really, really sharp in that matter. The Houston game was his first game back. But he showed some grit and toughness there. But last week was absolutely terrible for Zach. You can't really hide that. There's nothing you could do. But those games are going to happen. I mean, you look at Josh Allen, he's had terrible games in his rookie season. I mean, absolutely awful games. I mean, shoot, even yesterday's game, I mean, Wentz is a seasoned pro, and he had an awful game as well. So, I mean, and you look at Mac Jones, you had the garbage time type of touchdowns, but he threw 2 crucial picks early in the game. So, I mean, you're talking about a rookie season. You're talking about a guy on an awful football team. You're talking about a guy who's dealing with a ton of injuries on both sides of the ball. And you're talking about a football team where the defense really isn't allowing the offense to stay within their offense week to week. I mean, you're talking about a team that's given up, it seems like 300 yards a game on the ground when you're watching it, because it's just so awful. You're taking rhythm out of the game for these guys. You're having them abandon the run, which is something you don't want to do with a rookie quarterback. And you've been dealing with a rash of injuries all over, including his number 1 wide receiver, now his number 2 wide receiver. So it hasn't been an easy season for Zach, and I think we need to be fair in his evaluation. But does he need to play better? Absolutely, he needs to play better. Those short throws, throwing him in the ground, just kind of missing guys. That is what Saleh was talking about with aligning your footwork with your eyes. And that's something that could be definitely worked on in the offseason for sure. And it's something that you're going to see from game to game with him that's going to be different because he is a rookie. And honestly, it is an up and down thing when you're processing. So, it's one of those things where you look at Zach. One of the things that I'm very happy about is that he's trying to keep the turnovers down here. His first couple games, his first 3-4 games in the league, you're talking about 7-8 turnovers in just 4 games. Well, his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, he has 3 turnovers via interceptions, and he's got 2 touchdowns, 600 yards or so, and he's got about three rushing touchdowns. So we're seeing improvement when we're not overhyping what this really is, and that he sucks and he's the next Josh Rosen and all this other kind of stuff that people are saying. There has been improvement in his game in that standpoint, and it's hard, to keep those turnovers down. He's learned. I think when you look at Mike White, when he came in and you saw what Zach was trying to do before the Mike White game and after, you see less shots down the field, pushing it unnecessarily. You see, again, more check downs, more easier throws, taking what the game is given to him. You're seeing a lot more of that. And I think that that's improvement. That's showing a guy who's not saying, I'm just going to be set in my ways. This is how I play football. You're seeing him take the little things. And I think that's something you could build upon, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be an up and down season. We knew there would be highs and lows. And the thing that Jets fans got to realize, like you said, as part of a rebuild, we're building a whole team, like right now, around Zach Wilson while we're trying to build up Zach Wilson. And, he definitely has to play better. And like the great analogy you used, and I know Jets fans hate it, but man, Josh Allen's first 2 years in the league, I totally thought he was going to be a bust. Honestly, he was one of the quarterbacks I liked the least in that draft class. And after his rookie season, he was definitely one of the bottom on that quarterback list, right? They had Mayfield and Lamar Jackson so far rated ahead of him after his rookie season. They just had better seasons. Mayfield, I think, just missed the playoffs. Lamar Jackson was in the playoffs. Sam Darnold had to even finish the season hot. We remember the Green Bay Packer game where he threw for like 400 yards and almost beat Aaron Rodgers. Like, Josh Allen was in the same ballpark as Sam Darnold, like at the time, after his first year. And people would argue who had a better rookie year, Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. And it took him a couple years to develop. But in the meantime, the Bills put a roster around him, right? They can lean on the run game if they need to. They trust their offensive line, even though now it's not having as good of a year as last year. Receivers, their defense is vicious. The Jets got to build their whole team around Wilson and figure out if Wilson's the guy kind of in the process. If they can fix the O-line and fix the defense, and then in 2 or 3 years, if they need to swap out Zach Wilson, then they can. And they can put the final piece on. But it's way, way, way too early to say what Zach Wilson is or isn't. Just like it was way too early to say what Josh Allen is and isn't. And I would go the other way. Even if Zach Wilson was tearing up the league and having a great year, 8 to 9 games is still way too early. It's like when everyone crowned Vince Young and everyone crowned RG3 as the best quarterbacks in those classes. But then after the rookie year, it was like, what happened? And you could go through and have the debate on those guys, but they didn't pan out. So, guys, the rookie season is a learning season. It's a stepping stone season, and it's either going to be up or down because we've seen young quarterbacks go in both directions. So this is another week, and we have a brutal schedule to close the year, right? Other than the Jags game, this is a blitz-heavy, make quick decisions Miami defense with a decent secondary, not as good as it was hyped up to be. And we got the Bills and Tampa, with both tackles out now. I know we're going to have Moses, but now without back then we're without Fant. Even if we get we're without our number 1 and number 2 wide receivers. Like, this isn't a great lineup to evaluate Zach Wilson, but he does need to do the little things better. And the one thing that he's not getting credit for is over 100 pass attempts without a turnover. So, yes, I think he's overthinking it. I think he's trying too hard at times. And sometimes it's too hard to not make a mistake. He's trying too hard to not make mistakes now. So he's got to find a way to put the gunslinger personality into a more conservative, better execution game plan. And thinking that he's going to figure out all those things in 9 or 10 games is unrealistic, no matter how much he has the weight of 50 years of not winning a Super Bowl on his shoulder and 10 years of not making the playoffs. You still can't microwave the process. And developing a young quarterback, whether we like it or not, is a process that takes multiple seasons, not 10 games. And we talked about it before the show. After year 2 is where I put the weight of the shoulders on Zach Wilson, right? We gave Sam Darnold, even though some fans won't admit it, we gave him multiple seasons. And year 3 is when we said, all right, now you're not the guy. Because you weren't any better season 3 than you were season 1 or season 2. So thinking that just because you were sick of waiting for Sam Darnold to be the guy, you still got to give the turkey the same time in the oven to see if it's going to be good and build the team around him. And that's what I'm looking for the Jets to do.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at it, you have to absolutely give this regime more time. I know how frustrating it is for Jet fans because I'm a Jet fan too. And me and Kevin actually do a show with JR, and it's like each week we got to come on. So it's like people talk to us as if we're not Jet fans and we're not watching the game and writing articles and watching the game a second time and watching clips and trying to get as much information throughout the week. We're doing that. So we're right along there with you. It's just more of an understanding of expectation. Listen, I know the offseason was wonderful in the way that the Jets orchestrated it. The Johnsons fell back. They let the football people make decisions. That's great. But we cannot lose sight of what it actually means to build a football team across the league. It's not easy. Now, the Jags are going through an awful situation with their quarterback and their team and firing their coach and benching James Robinson, who's clearly the best running back on that roster. They have a lot of issues going on over there. And I don't think you have those issues with the Jets. The Jets are strictly rebuild issues. You're not seeing the drama. You're not seeing the headaches. They've got a rookie quarterback, the youngest roster in the league, with a staff that's all new. And you've seen growth from LaFleur and what he's done with this offense, but his pieces are being taken away from him. You take away Corey Davis. You take away Becton. You take away Michael Carter. You take away Elijah Moore. You take away 4 guys who are key cogs to how this offense is going to move, including his starting quarterback for multiple weeks. So he's got different quarterbacks coming in, different running backs, different receivers. It's in and out as far as his game plan is concerned, and I think you still have seen progression from the offensive side. I think if you're going to be disappointed with anything with this football team, even more so than Zach Wilson, because, again, he deserves more than 1 year. We saw last week. We absolutely saw it. Actually, yesterday, we saw it, how a good team builds around a young quarterback. The Patriots were not the Jets. I don't know why there's always this comparison of, well, look at Mac Jones. I have no doubt in my mind you take Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trevor Lawrence and you put them on the Patriots, I still think they have around the same record. I really, really, truly do. I think you probably limit the throws on all of them. I think Belichick would have did that across the board. But honestly, I think you would have maybe even seen a little bit more because those guys do have the explosion that when you do need to come back in a game, when you do need to push the ball up the field and not be the vanilla team that you are, I think those kind of guys do. So I'm not knocking Mac Jones. He's done everything that Coach Belichick has asked him to do. He stays within the offense. But when you look at his touchdown throws, you look at his play, I don't see a new future Tom Brady like everyone is crowning him. He's got a lot to prove. He's on a good football team that's the best defense in the league with an excellent scheme that's been around for 10 plus years, offense and defense. And you could clearly see they play a different style of football than everyone else. They just do. They just have so much knowledge and experience. And that's why they game plan week to week. But you saw last week, and you can't say that's an aberration, but you saw against the Colts, when you play a team that can kind of punch you in the mouth back and make something out of nothing off your mistakes, the Patriots are going to have a hard time winning. They really are. I truly believe that. There's a lot that Mac has to do. But when you look at this team, the defense is what needs to be, to me, the most disappointing factor, especially having a defensive head coach. This team has absolutely been run down. It has been embarrassing on the defensive side of the football. Like, it just gives me nightmares when a team can run that much on your football team, because it just sucks the life out of the game when a team is walking you down into the end zone, and especially running the ball. You feel helpless, especially when you're live and you're watching the game, because your offense is sitting on the bench and they're doing absolutely nothing. They're getting out of rhythm. They're not getting a sense for the game. I mean, you look at that Eagles game, the Jets offense, who was rolling in the first half, didn't touch the ball until over 8 minutes into the third quarter. I mean, that is absolutely pathetic. So if you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at Saleh and the defense for, to me, just absolutely just getting walked down. Now, do they have injuries too? Absolutely. Are they young? Absolutely. Are they trying to figure it out? Absolutely. But still, even within that, they're like basically setting records here. But for how bad it is, I mean, it reminds me of the old Jets days, right before Chris Jenkins got there, and they just got to get and run over, and just even the defense in general, Pryor and Gilchrist. It kind of reminds me of that time where it just seems like teams can just do whatever they want against you. And that hurts, that sucks, because it's just a gut punch to the stomach. You know what I mean? The Jets have had success offensively this year that I don't think we've seen in the building in quite some time, whether it be Mike White, whether it be Wilson, whether it be Joe Flacco, whoever it is. I mean, you've seen guys pop in this offense. When's the last time you say a young, Jets running back pops in a way that gets you excited, or young Jets receiver pops that gets you excited? These different things, or even offensive linemen, or just putting together offensive games. I mean, for a stretch there, the Jets had the best offense in the league over, a 4 to 6 week stretch or whatever it was. So that gives me hope that they are figuring out a game plan offensively that no matter who the quarterback is, they've got a chance to try to win this game. But when you look at their roster, their opening day roster to today, when you're missing 65% of your starting day roster on a team that's already green as hell, you gotta listen to these stats. You can't just come out and say, well, Zach sucks, without factoring all these in, because any team would really struggle, including a young football team. So when I look at this schedule, yeah, I mean, will the Jets win another game? There's possibility that they won't. Okay, and I'm just being honest with you guys. It is a possibility that the Jets won't win another game, because the Dolphins, who started let me tell you something. The Dolphins were a team that were supposed to make the playoffs this year. Okay, they made their turn, and this was supposed to be their year where they took the next step up and make the playoffs, and they fell absolutely flat on their face. But you didn't hear the same crying as you even hear from this team in a year one rebuild, not year three. And now the Dolphins have actually been turning it up. Their defense has turned it up. You look at Tua's start to his season was absolutely awful. There's a game against the Bills where Tua had a 25% completion percentage. He had a 53% completion percentage. He's thrown for multiple picks in a game. I mean, he just didn't look good. But then all of a sudden, he started to turn it around. And why did he turn it around? Because coincide with him turning it around, the defense turned it around for the Dolphins. You get them more possessions. You put them in a better field position. You put them in an opportunity where they don't have to come back constantly and abandon the run game and abandon the game plan to start. And you're seeing better play from the quarterback. Rex Ryan says it all the time, but football really is based off a good running game and a defense. Even in a passing league, it is, because you have to have balance, because when you have a team where you abandon your running game and you have to pass it, they just zone out. All they do is just drop in zone and just say, all right, be perfect then. Because you zone out, you cut down the lanes, and you have to make perfect throws, and you make a team inch their way up 5 yards here, 6 yards here, and you're just kind of leaking the timeout. And it can't last like that forever. When you're down 14, 17, 21 points, you're going to have to try to push the ball down the field. And so when you look at the last game and they only ran 17 times, in the Eagles game, that blew my mind, because they had one of the best starts to their season, but they completely had to abandon it. And that was with Tevin Coleman having an excellent game. So it's hard. Football is not like basketball where LeBron James or Michael Jordan can take over a game and absolutely control it. Yeah, there's been instances of that in the NFL where you got a guy like Derrick Henry where you just hand him the ball and he'll just get you wins because he's unstoppable. That kind of stuff happens. But look at even the Tennessee Titans without Derrick Henry, how different their team looks, how hard it's been for them to grind. You start taking away key players off your team and you don't really have a good team to begin with, you're going to see a big difference. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves in our evaluation. We're not apologists for Zach Wilson on the Jets Guru show, despite what people like to say. We don't apologize for quarterbacks because just look at our history. We go after quarterbacks, but when it's time to, we gave Sam Darnold every opportunity his first 3 years to be the starter of the New York Jets. And you could go back and watch our videos. We're like, these are the things that he needs to do. These are the things that the team needs to do. And after that third year evaluation, I was done with him because I saw that he wasn't progressing to the next level and it wasn't going to matter what they did. He was what he was. The same thing with Mark Sanchez. I thought the same way about him. I gave him every opportunity till you get to your third year in the league and teams are going to want to lean on you. It's just natural. You got your first 2 years. Your first year, your rookie year, is a wash. Your second year, you need to show improvement off of that rookie year. And your third year, you should be handing it off to your quarterback and saying, hey, you should be a guy that helps us win games, not helps us lose games, which is what Darnold was doing. So we're honest here because we follow the path at which it's always been in this league for such a long time. That, listen, not everyone's going to come in and just be Justin Herbert. But there's been guys that have come in this league their first year, their second year have shined, and then slowly started to fall apart as the league has figured them out. And you see some of those quarterbacks out there right now. So, yeah, Sam looked better than Zach in his rookie season. Are they all the same person? Do they have the same football team? Do they have the same coaching? Are they playing the same opponents? I mean, you guys got to factor that in. Oh, well, Sam looked better than Zach his rookie year. Wow, what a statement. Without any type of stats, without any type of just, you're talking about a guy 4 years ago to a guy now, totally different ball club, totally different people, totally different circumstance. You could say that about anyone. Well, some guy had a better rookie season than Troy Aikman did his rookie season. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. What matters is, do you build from year one to year two? Because Zach is going to be here. So if he comes into the season next year and he has this same output, the Jets Guru is going to have a different tone, guys, because it's your second year with the same offense, the same coach, more players, because the Jets have 2 first-rounders, potentially 2 top 10 picks. Then you have multiple mid-round picks. The Jets aren't in cap hell, so they're going to have an opportunity to bring guys in through free agency. So, yes, my expectations for Zach Wilson and this New York Jets football team next year is going to be completely different than what we see his rookie year and this staff's rookie year. If the Jets don't come out next year and win 7 games, I'm going to be disappointed as a fan. Absolutely, because there is no reason why with the talent and the way they hit in the first round, and if Zach is the guy and you have this staff, and they're going to improve this defense. Expect the Jets to draft defense heavy and fix this offensive line. So, or repair this offensive line, because there are some pieces on this line that have played very well. So, yeah, the expectations change with what happens in life. Like a guy that walks into a job his first year, do you really think that he's going to be better than a guy that's been there for 10, 15, 3, 5 years? Probably not. Now, will you have instances where someone comes in and it all clicks and the job works for him and he just he's a fire starter? Sure, that could happen. Absolutely. But there's also tons of people, and I would say the majority, that when you start anything new, when you go to any new program, organization, situation, there's going to be learning curves, getting to know the staff, getting to know the people. There's no difference in football. They're learning the playbook. They're learning each other. LaFleur's never called an offensive game before. He's piecing it together on what works, what doesn't, for who and what. And the same thing for Saleh. So I think we have to lean back a little bit. We already have more wins than we did last year. That's improvement to me right off there. We could sneak and get another win against the Jags or get a win this week against the Dolphins. Then, hey, you got a 4-win team building off of last year. And now we expect this team to do what the Dolphins did and take that next step forward into being like a 7-win team or so, which would be great for this organization. And then Zach's third year, just like we did for Sanchez, just like we did for Darnold, we would expect him in his third year to take the Jets into the next level. And if he doesn't, guess what? Draft another quarterback. So we're not Zach Wilson apologists. We're just in reality of what it takes to build a football team. And not everyone is going to come out like Mac Jones, because not everyone has Bill Belichick and his defense that's been there for 20 plus years. That's been there. The offense has been there for years and years and years. It is so easy when you come into a situation where they're not asking you to do too much. Stay within the offense. We're going to hand it off more than anything. Our defense is going to win you more games than anything. Just don't make a crucial mistake. So you got to give him credit for that. He played in a big program, won a national championship, coached by a pro head coach. So he knows what it takes to run an offense, to be in and out. But to me personally, he's not the most talented quarterback. I don't think he has the biggest ceiling. And I think ultimately, when you look at this draft class, this is going to be built upon coaching. If they could kind of work with Mac Jones and build him up to where he doesn't need to do too much, and then eventually he makes that personal turn, then you could see him maybe take the next level. But I haven't seen that. I've seen a guy that's been a system quarterback kind of riding the waves of a Patriots team that, to be honest with you, even last year, they weren't awful like a lot of other teams, and they went out and spent a lot of money, and they brought in guys to help their football team, and now look at them. So it's no surprise. But I think we have to stay based in reality and what we're looking at. You look at this Jags game, well, not to skip that, you look at this Dolphins game, is it a winnable game for the Jets, Kevin? I mean, I don't think so. I think the Dolphins defense is really turned up. The Dolphins are missing several players due to COVID, including Jalen Waddle, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, there's a few guys in here where, could you put enough pressure on Tua to make him revert back to what he was? Maybe, but the Jets haven't really given me, in my opinion, a confidence to say that they're going to do that. And you have to deal with running backs like Gaskins and such, which the Jets had a hard time with in their first matchup against the Dolphins. So, no, I don't see the Jets winning this game, but I do see a winnable game against the Jags. Listen, I'll tell you this much at the very least, Kevin. The Jets better show up in the Jags game. You got a rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence who struggled this year even before Myers left. You have a Jags team that is in complete disarray as far as the drama is concerned. Now they have a new guy calling plays for them. This is where I want to see a guy like Saleh and his defensive acumen come out and give Trevor Lawrence some problems, even if you're not getting pressure up front and disguising different things. And I'm not saying he should, do what Bowles did and take over play calling from Albright, but something needs to happen in that Jags game, because those are two, nearly identical teams when it comes to where they're at in the rebuild process, where organizationally, I think the Jets are way ahead of the Jaguars. But as far as the football team and what's out there, what's available, I think you could really have a game here where Zach can really prove himself and Saleh could really prove himself. But after that, you're playing a Bills team that's hungry. They could be pushed out of the playoffs here, to be honest with you, which would be disastrous because the Bills are supposed to win the division. But so they could get pushed out, and you have a Pats team that's going to be fighting for placement. So, and you have a Dolphins team we're playing this week that they need to win out if they're going to make the playoffs, and they got a winnable schedule. You're talking about the Dolphins play us. They play, I think, the Saints. They play one more weak team before they play the Patriots in that final game of the season, which could be the one that gets them in the playoffs and would be a complete, amazing turnaround for that organization and for Brian Flores. But Kevin, I honestly, I only see a possible one more win in this season against the Jags, unless there's more Dolphin players that come out before this game that are out. So I figure one more win, if anything. But at the very least, this team better show up for sure against the Jaguars.
Come off mute, Kevin. There's a couple things. The Jets, regardless of who the quarterback is, has to have an identity on offense and defense. Like, we need an identity, and we have to have something that we can build the team around. And to your point, when you make comparisons about other teams, that's what Mac Jones has. He has an offensive line, he has a run game, and he has a defense that's one of the most elite bend but don't break defenses, and it's been that way 20 plus years. They create turnovers. They have mismatches at corner. They create a pass rush just because their coverage is so good. And not that they have elite pass rushers, but Judon came on, like you said, spent a lot of money. And their pass rusher that they paid a lot of money for didn't get hurt before the season started. He's playing. But the Jets, you're 100% right. When we talk about the Jets defense and offense, like, why do we need Zach Wilson to play well to win games, right? I mean, you just watched the Colts-Patriots game yesterday. A lot of people did. And was Wentz having a good game? Like, no, not particularly a great game. And, I mean, he was practically keeping both teams in the game. But it didn't matter because their offense is built around Taylor and running the ball. And, like, when you brought up the Titans earlier, like Tannehill, he can have a good game or a bad game, but when Derrick Henry's healthy, it doesn't matter because you can lean on the run game when he's not playing well. And if he's playing well, they're unstoppable. So for the Jets fans to just focus on Zach Wilson, and maybe the offense does get built around us having an Aaron Rodgers type quarterback. And because with Aaron Rodgers, they kind of come and go, the Packers, in all fairness, with him. Kansas City started slow because Mahomes started slow. Now Mahomes got it going. But to think you're just going to have a rookie quarterback come in and say, all right, well, now we're Kansas City Chiefs. Now we're the Green Bay Packers. It's like, well, that's not what Mac Jones is being asked to do. So if that's the offense we're building, it's the offense we're building. But for the Jets, then they got to do the things and call game plans to make that happen and have the offensive line. Because I could tell you the Colts yesterday, they lined up against probably one of the top three defenses and just said, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to beat you. And we're going to run Taylor and we're going to beat you doing what we do. And they did it. And that's how the Titans do it. That's how Kansas City does it. And the Jets right now, I still don't know what their identity is. And I would prefer it, which is why I don't think the Jets are finished building the offensive line, to be able to line up and beat you with the offensive line, whether that's giving you long time to throw or being able to run it when you want. And I don't think we're finished there. And on the second half of that is the defense. In the defense, we've had virtually, and people argue with me about this all the time, so maybe I'm a little wrong on this, but we don't have a pass rush still. And if you can't stop the run in the NFL, which we cannot do, teams are just going to be like, well, this is easy. They're going to do what you saw the Patriots do to the Bills and just run it and run it and run it and run it and run up the score, you know? And just like when the Patriots got 55 or whatever the hell that game was, and Mac Jones barely had to throw the ball. So this Miami game, they're definitely limping into this game. Just like you said, I think Gaskins is out. I think he's one of the players on the COVID list. But I could be wrong. Their roster has been up and down like the last 3 days. I know Holland was taken off the COVID list at safety, but they just ruled him out literally the second on Twitter I just saw. So even the players that they're getting back off COVID doesn't mean that they're playing this week. They probably didn't get a lot of practice reps with all this testing and everything going back and forth. But I don't feel good about our offense in this game. I think we'll be able to do some things, but a blitz scheme against a quarterback trying to fill it out, I don't feel good about it. And Lino's comments, I've been trying to keep up with your comments down there, guys. You're right. Like, the defense does get worn down. And especially when you're not getting turnovers or you're not getting big sacks that get you off the field quickly. Even when we get stops on defense, it's after they've gotten 3 or 4 first downs and you've been on the field for a while, right? We're not getting a lot of 3 and outs either. Honestly, I almost take holding teams to field goals at this point as a win for our defense, especially after they've been on the field 2 or 3 straight 3-and-outs for our offense. But anyways, I think this is a tough matchup for us. This is a improving defense. And I think this recipe is what we need to see from a defensive standpoint. The Jets got to get playmakers over there who create turnovers, who get to the quarterback, hopefully without the sack as much. Without the blitz as much, because the Jets scheme isn't blitz heavy. They expect your front four to win the matchup, so everybody else can be in coverage to create those turnovers, which just tells you the Jets need to add more guys on the front line that can win one-on-one battles. And take some of the pressure off Quinnen and Franklin Myers and Huff and these guys in Boston. So I don't think the Jets have finished adding there. So look for this to be a game. I do think the Finns will have some turnovers. I think we will get to Tua some today and get some pressures. There should be some sacks today. I am excited Bryce Huff is coming back this week. I'm excited Carter is coming back, but just like JR said before the show, I would not overuse him. Maybe like 12 carries and like 5 or 6 pass plays, something like that. But get Coleman some carries. Maybe P. Ryan get some carries. I'm not so sure about that. But and we should not. Your highlight, what you said earlier, like we should not be throwing the ball 40 times and running it like 15 to 20. Like I don't know what kind of game plan that is for a rookie quarterback. And again, maybe if he was Justin Herbert and on fire or something, but we should not be throwing the ball like 40 times. It should be the opposite. And just like the old Sanchez years where it was like 20 to 25. And you do have 3 running backs. And our offensive line is better, in my opinion, at run blocking than pass blocking. We should be taking advantage of that, especially with AVT healthy. So this week, I think something like the similar score to last time we played. I think it was 24-17 last time or something like that. Maybe 27-17, maybe 27-13, right in that ballpark. I think it's a tough game and a tough matchup for the Jets, and it's closer because Miami has so many players out.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. You just nailed it right there. Exactly. He should not be throwing 40 times a game. But then, like Lowell said, the defense, I almost laughed when I saw the comment, the defense is gassing the defense out. It's so true. The defense plays so bad, they're gassing themselves out. It's hilarious. But they're the ones that hurt this offense sometimes more than the offense hurts themselves. Because, again, it's hard to run the ball 35 times when your defense is putting you out of the game. But this is what I would suggest. At this point in the season, the only thing that we're really concerned with is making sure Zach gets in some kind of rhythm and gets on a roll. Who cares? Like, if you're down by 21 points, don't abandon the game. Just don't. Just stick with it. Keep running the football. I know fans won't like it. They'll be like, you're down by 21. Why are you still doing this? But you just have to have some balance because the kid's footwork and his eyes are not in the same place, like Salah said. So let's make him throw every play. When the defense plays that bad, it takes away your trick plays. It takes away your running. So you know what? Say, screw it. We're going to stick on game plan. If that means that instead of losing, by 4 touchdowns, maybe we lose by 2. But at least we like you said, Kevin, we start creating an identity. And when you look at this identity, it kind of got cut short. But it seemed like it was Michael Carter. It seems like that was the identity of the Jets because after that Patriots game, after the Jets got blown out and Zach threw 4 interceptions, I think LaFleur really said, you know what? His kid is not ready to be the gunslinger that I think we thought he was going to be right off the bat. We need to slow things down. Let's use Michael Carter. And that's what the Jets did. And when you look at what Michael Carter was able to do after the Patriots game, you're talking about 15 rushes, 77 yards, 14 targets, 9 receptions, 95 yards in a TD. That was the Mike White game. That is what I want to see from this offense, so to speak. Are you going to have that every game? No. Cincinnati was taken off guard by what Mike White was going to do in that game. But something similar along those lines with not just Michael Carter, but with all your running backs. Tevin Coleman has great footwork, good cutbacks. He is more than capable of doing that too. You feed the running backs. Be creative. And I think that's what you saw. New England kind of beat the Jets down in the same fashion that you saw we beat Cincinnati with. Go back to that. Do those types of things. I think you look at Michael Carter moving forward, 13 rushes, 49 yards, and 37 yards receiving. The Buffalo game, 16 rushes, 39 yards, 43 yards reception, and a TD. I think when you look at this, you have to be able to I want to see if Michael Carter is around 100 yards all purpose. I think that's where you want to aim for. Get this kid moving, get this offense rolling, and I think that is how you're going to build your identity with this team. The deep pass stuff, I've already seen that from Zach Wilson. I know he can throw a deep ball down the field. We saw it against the Titans game. We've seen multiple throws across games. We've seen him make throws within his first few games that we just never saw Sam Darnold do. So that is not what I'm concerned about, is him being able to throw the ball down the field. What I'm concerned about is getting him to a rhythm. Like Salah said, getting his footwork, getting his eyes together so they kind of come together. Because I believe he's already started to improve on his speed, getting the ball out quickly, 1-2 out, 1-2 out, first read, second read out. That I could see the change in him in that. You see him making quicker decisions. But what he does, because he is athletic and he does try to do those things, you see him do off-balance throws. You see him try to escape and move to his right just slightly to try to get a little bit extra time, and he winds up throwing off balance. These types of things. And I'm seeing it across the league. So let's stop. I just saw Mahomes in a touchdown situation this past week completely dirt a ball that was supposed to go to a Hardman, I believe, which is I wouldn't say a simple throw, because the angle of the throw, if you don't throw it right, you got a Mark Sanchez pick six special. But it's something that Mahomes is more than capable of doing. Dirt ball, dirt ball, dirt ball. This is a guy who's an MVP. This is a guy who's won an Super Bowl. You see it across the league. Look at how quick Carson Wentz, what his start was to his career and how that's tailed off. But even him, he struggled. So quarterbacks struggle, okay? It's not an easy league. It's a passing league. But these defensive coordinators are figuring out, I'm zoning my guys out, and I'm going to make you make a mistake. I'm going to have my pass rushers, like Kevin said, which we should be doing, winning their battles up front, blitzing less, and zoning out and making your quarterback make a mistake. Let him try to find the little hole in the zone, and it's going to put pressure on a guy, and he's going to make mistakes. So I think that when you look at it, the league is responding very well to how teams are passing the ball. And so I think, again, your identity is your trick plays, your screens, your running. That is your identity as a young football team right now. Use it. Like Kevin said, use these guys. There's no reason why Zach should be throwing 40 times a game, regardless of the score, because we're not trying to make the playoffs this year. We're trying to get this kid right, and putting him in harm's way, mind you, while not being able to win the game. It just doesn't make any sense. I get the reasoning. Hey, you're down by 3 touchdowns. We got to start throwing more. I get it. But at this point, it's like that's not going to work either way, because this team is not explosive enough. The pass protection isn't good enough, and Zach isn't good enough to throw you 3 touchdowns back into a game. And to be honest with you, and obviously it's right on the table, the Jets defense isn't good enough for it. So even if the offense puts together 1, 2, or 3 drives in the second half that look good, the defense is going to let the other team walk them down anyways. So stay within your offense, run the football, screens, trick plays, bubbles, get this kid into a rhythm, and you'll see more of the Philadelphia first half game, Zach Wilson, than you'll see anything, I believe. This kid is not dumb. This kid does not have a lack of talent. He has all these things. This is an awful football team. Maybe we should blame the Jets first a little bit before we jump on Zach Wilson, considering the Jets' history in handling quarterbacks in this organization in his first rookie year. So all I ask you fans, right, is because we know what the narrative is going to be in the offseason. Zach isn't good enough. We need another quarter. Let's chill out with that, right? It's the first year that they're installing all this, guys. Come on. Let's be honest with ourselves here. What were you really expecting from this team? They put the stats up. It's not just the Jets. It's all of these young teams. All of the teams that have the youngest rosters are all struggling. All of them. And this was weeks ago when we saw that stat. And even Pittsburgh has struggled since then. And they were the only team on that list that was doing good at the time. It's not easy when you're installing everything for the first time with all rookies. It's just not. But some of the vitriol that I see from fans, as if this is Daniel Jones and the Giants in their third year. They still don't know what they have with Daniel Jones yet. Because he's been injured and this team just sucks. That they don't even know. They're like, Should we give him another year? Should we go draft a quarterback? The Jets aren't in that place. They have a lot of stuff that they're moving forward onward. This is their first year. So this isn't the Dolphins. This isn't the Giants. We're not that organization that's trying to make that playoff push. This is a team that's starting from literally roots up here. It doesn't matter how long Joe Douglas has been here and he came in after Gase and this guy picked all that stuff is out the window. I'm looking at Joe Douglas last year was his first draft because it's literally rebuilt from the start up. The players that Joe Douglas got prior to Saleh were for an offense and defensive scheme that is not currently here. You do know that, right? That when you pick players, you pick them for a scheme. You pick them for what your coaches are trying to do. Well, guess what? They got new coaches. They got a new quarterback. They got a new scheme. So obviously his picks are going to be different. So yeah, maybe Perrine doesn't work with this offense because Perrine wasn't drafted for this offense. Mims wasn't drafted for this offense. A lot of these guys weren't drafted for this offense and defense. Okay? So how about we let it build? We see what happens. We already hit on AVT. We already hit on Michael Carter. We already hit on Elijah Moore. The quarterback always gets more than 1 year. You know that. Stop it. Right? So, and then you look at guys like Eccles and Carter Jr. that have had, solid games. I think he did a good job drafting for this current scheme and this current team. So let's see what happens next year. Ramp the expectations up a little bit next year. But for the rest of this year, and honestly for the whole year, I just think the fan base has been totally off with what they expected from this team, considering everything that's going on. I mean, but next year, yes, the Jets should play way better next year, especially with all the stuff you got. You can't get all those first-round picks from Jamal Adams and not put some wins on the board. So yes, I expect the Jets to win about 7 games next year. Absolutely. With the young talent that they have, second year in place, all the things that we talked about in this episode, yes, they should show improvement. And then in that third year, I expect them to push for a playoff spot. Those are the expectations. And they haven't been different from anyone else in how we spoke about in this program. I gave Sam Darnold 2.5 years. I'm sorry, halfway through his third year, I knew he just wasn't the guy, right? Because he had all of the tools. He had all of the mental capacity to go out there and show us some skill level. And to me, he's exactly what he was when he got to the Panthers. And everyone jumped on me in his start. And I told everybody, they're going to abuse McCaffrey, okay? He's going to get hurt. And then they're going to count on Sam Darnold to throw him back in the game, and he's going to suck. And that's exactly what happened because he's a type of quarterback where you need – it's almost like Tannehill, but Tannehill at least has had passing seasons in this league that shows that he has that skill level. Darnold has not proved that yet, that he could do that on a consistent level, and he ultimately got benched, and ultimately – they're going to draft another quarterback because I know that they're not going to give Sam Darnold too many chances here. Okay, so please just give it time. All right, rookie season. All right, let's say they come out and they beat the Jaguars. Let's just say, right, they get 4 wins. You're not happy with that? Coming off of last year's disaster with a coach that gave you no explanation about how game plans were, how things go down, how his young players are going to be, lost out here in his scorecard, just all that kind of stuff. You're going to give him, Adam Gase, you're going to give him more leeway than you are what the Jets are building right now? And you actually see young player growth from this football team, even though it doesn't directly result in wins? You're not going to give this at least 2-3 years? Well, then you're not going to give anybody 2-3 years then. And then nobody's going to want to come here like they don't because we put false expectations on a team that hasn't even done anything yet. Okay? So they decided for the first time in my lifetime, 36 years old, this is the first time I've ever seen the Jets rebuild. When they got Sanchez, they were a ready-made team, okay? When they got Darnold, that wasn't a rebuild for them. It wasn't. Not the way that they were building that defense or trying to build that team. That wasn't a rebuild. This is a true rebuild. And if you look across the league and most teams that do that, there's growing pains in the beginning. So, yeah, I'm with you. Zach's got to play better. He's got to throw his short passes better. He's got to do better. This defense has to do better. Running game has to do better. But I'm not going to just throw the team away in a first-year rebuild. 2-3 years. I expect better play next year, better play the year after. If not, scrap it. Let's go. Keep it moving. But you got to let it develop. I can't tell you how many young quarterbacks that became stars that if you gave up on them on their first year, you would have been giving up on a ton of wins and Super Bowls and different things. It's a rookie year. This is not new knowledge that these guys are going to struggle coming in. And it's not just Zach. Trevor's struggling. Justin is struggling. And the only one who's really doing well, oh, guess what team he plays for? So the writing is on the wall. This isn't hard to comprehend. So listen, if I got to give a prediction to this game, the Jets lose 27-17. Okay? And I have to look to see how many more people are out. Obviously, it matters when you're missing Waddle and Gaskins and all these other things. Because Tua, I saw him live. I'm not very impressed with him. He's done very well the last few weeks as the defense has turned up. But it's a winnable game if he's missing a lot of his weapons. But the Jets defense is going to have to show up the middle. If they don't, and their running team is getting 5 yards a carry before they're even being touched, doesn't matter what Zach Wilson does, because they're just going to walk the Jets down and score on most drives. And so Zach is just going to be playing in a deficit like he always does mostly. So, hey, 27-17 for me. What do you got again, Kevin? What's your score? And then, JR, I want to hear your prediction as well.
Yeah, I got 27-13. So, will the offense be able to do enough? This is a good defense to run trick plays against because they're over-aggressive. So will we call a game plan kind of like what we saw in the Cincy game where they just came off Mike White and we hit them with a lot of stuff? LaFleur will have to have a flaw, and this is a road. It's also a road game, right? I mean, if this was a home game, I'd feel a little better about some of those trick plays and stuff like that. But there's a lot of pressure on Zach coming off a not great game to go into, a tough road game where we haven't had success in Miami for a while. So unfortunately, I got a loss 27-13. JR, where are you at?
Oh, man. All right. So a few weeks ago, I kind of got lost in the sauce, if you know what I mean. I was heading up to New York, about to go see the Jets versus Eagles. I was getting hyped. Like, all right, we're going to take the Eagles down. That's going to be our win. Me and Daniel both were hyped at the tailgate. It didn't go that well. So next week, I'm like, the Saints, Taysom, come on, we got to win this one. And I picked 2 wins there. So I'm done picking them to win. The Jets will get destroyed today in Miami. 31-10. The misery continues, but it will get better. I'm out.
Woof, it's 31-10. The message boards are going to be absolutely disgusting. So, hey, listen, let's root for our team. We're going to throw the Jets Guru board up just shortly so you guys can start talking about the Jets. I'll be in and out talking, so we'll all comfort each other in there. But hey, listen, they got to come out, and I think Zach has to come out and have a solid game for sure. We got to start building here, and so yeah, last week was awful. The week before, he was rookie of the year, rookie of the week, and that's what it is, up down, up down, up down. So maybe he comes out as another rookie of the week performance, So I don't know, we'll see, but I appreciate the support from all you guys week in and week out. It's been a frustrating year for sure, no doubt, for everyone because of the expectation that some fans put on this team. But let's try to finish the year out strong, not just as a team, but as a fan base, and realize that there's help on the way, there's draft picks on the way, there's money on the way. And I think that the Jets will start to get better from this, and you have to. And if not, hey, you rebuild, you move on. Hey, even if I'm 75 years old, I really feel like the Jets are going to figure it out sometime, and we'll be watching a good football team. That's just how life is, It may suck for a long time, but it doesn't suck forever if you keep grinding and you keep working. And they're a franchise, so they're going to keep doing so. So if it's not these guys, it's going to be some guys. We just hope it's these guys because there is some potential on this football team to move forward and do some great things. So thank you so much for joining in. We'll see you next Thursday. Appreciate the support here on a Sunday morning. Please check out Live Rounds and End Zone and all these other great New York Jet pages. Please check out Jets World. We got CJ on there posting, me, Live Rounds, everything. So it's growing week by week very slowly, and you got a bunch of Jets content on there. People do a great job. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
I can feel it coming in the air now. I can feel it.